can you introduce yourself?
My name is Phil. This is Alex.
My name's Alex.
We're from Austria. We know each other for a long time. We've been doing e-com together for quite a while. Had a deviation into trading and crypto, and that's where we started programming, developing, because we were developing algorithmic strategies for investors. And then as we started focusing on other things again, especially Alex was working with a German e-com brand, we started seeing pretty big gaps or problems in the e-com space that could be resolved with software relatively easily. So then we just looked at the biggest problems that we can solve in an efficient way, and we started doing that. So one of them is Barter AI, of course. Well, e-com brands obviously need to do influencer marketing, or many want to do influencer marketing. And usually they need a relatively big team for that if they want to do it at any large scale. Yeah, I don't know how many people you need for like a couple hundred influencers per month. But
A couple hundred influencers, about like 10 to 20 people.
Yeah, so it's a huge team, especially
in Europe. Like the
Especially if it's
payroll is
not
like
in
2,000, 3,000
Bali, yeah.
for an average like employee. So it's quite up there, like 30, 40,000 that you have to pay per month to even have that scale in the influencer marketing space.
Right. So what Barter AI does is it analyzes your brand, your company, and the influencers they worked with before, and looks for and scrapes thousands of influencers that potentially fit with your brand and also have a potential in generating revenue based on many KPIs that we look at, and we make a list of thousands of people, and then we reach out to them. And the thing is that with the way we approach it is with barter deals, hence the word Barter AI, which means that we just give them the product in exchange for a post, meaning that the brand doesn't actually have to pay for the posts. And many people are happy to do it, especially the way we target them. So usually 15%, ranges from 10 to 30% really, of the people we reach out to are interested. So the brand itself has a very low cost, just shipping out the product, especially if it's a low cost product. And they have 100, 200, 300 UGC posts that are posted by the influencers. So number one, they have UGC content more than they could ever generate. They have social proof because 300 people posted about their product, and the posts themselves are usually posted within a isolated target audience. So people in the target audience see multiple UGC posts of people that they kind of know, advertising that product.
What size of influencer we're talking about? Is it like 20,000, 50,000, less? More?
So it varies, but usually we're looking for micro-influencers, actually, because they have first of all, they're more likely to say yes. They will put in a lot of effort into doing it, and they have a fresh and engaging audience. So if you do that on a large scale, you can do 5,000, 10,000 a month. So if you would think about the work that would take to do it manually, you cannot compare it. And the revenue that the brands make ranges obviously, but we've had brands making 500 to like the maximum was like $1,000 per post. So then
what do you mean 1,000 per post? It's like
so
one post made by one influencer gets 1,000 in revenue
on average
for the brand.
On average.
And usually you get like guys hundreds of guys that are in.
So that like
so on average is like 500 per guy, pretty much.
Yeah.
It usually depends on the size of the brand and how mature the brand is. So the bigger the brand is, the average revenue will increase. So for bigger brands, we have seen like $1,000, $1,300 per post on average for each of the influencers.
It's like $130,000, $260,000 a month extra revenue, and the brand doesn't do anything, nothing.
No marketing costs.
And we have basically one employee doing the fulfillment, and we can do it in Bali. So that would be our cost would be $5 million. so $300 a month.
Yeah, instead of 2,000, 3,000.
Yeah, but even then, you know, like the revenue
So
that's generated.
the influencer, you select them once, and then you always work with them for a specific niche, or you're consistently searching for people and consistently like refreshing, or?
So this is a good question, because this is where the interesting part comes.
Okay.
So more valuable than the deals, the barter deals themselves, is the data that you get out of it. So let's say you do barter deals with 10, 20 brands, right? And say 8 of them are in the same niche. After you make a new list for every brand, and then from that list you see the influencers that generated revenue, and you can put it together and you can try them again and again. So then you can create a list of say 100 influencers that make a minimum of $3,000 per post in that niche, you know? And that list itself is very, very valuable. You can just straight out sell it, or when a high value brand comes in, you can be like, hey, like we have 100 people that make a minimum of $3,000 per post based on hard data that we collected, you know, in the past few months. Do you want to do it? So that's where the real value then comes in. So the idea of the company as we grow it is that we have the barter deals, and you know we can expand it to many other problems that we see that we can solve with software. But as the clientele grows, as the amount of influencer grows that we interact with every day, the side effect is basically generating all that data that is very, very, very valuable data. And on top of that, the overall potential of that, actually Alex can explain it. He explains it pretty well.
So a very, very big problem in the influencer marketing space is that so far, if you wanted to do like a big campaign, 100 influencers, you always had to manually search those influencers first. Then a first layer came in. So there were like platforms that offered you influencers based on certain interests, age groups, and so on and so on. But you still had to communicate. What we want to offer is basically an ads manager in the future where you just input your budget, let's say $10,000, in that specific country, in that specific age demographic, and we will automatically choose the best influencers for your brand to make the best out of it. So I think that is our big, big vision for the future.
Right, and in the back end, there's influencers that we already worked with, or just outreach that we do for this specific thing. Of like, because the other problem on the other side are influencers, or you know, smaller influencers, micro influencers, or wannabe influencers that are looking for brand deals and want to post, but they have no brand deals, you know. So they can register with us, or we can reach out to them and be like, hey, like we will fill your calendar with brand deals. Do you want to do it? They'll be more than happy to do it, you know. And the payment can range depending on the strength of the influencer, from the product for free to, you know, they get paid. Or if it's a low influencer but they still want to do it, it's just a discount on the product, you know. Like how many moms in the US would have no problem posting about something so they get a 40% discount on, you know, some product. So there's a spectrum that can range with. But that's on one side, is managing the influencers. On the other, you have brands, which basically have a meta ads manager just for influencers, where you can be like, here's my budget, here's what I want to do, and then you just match them together, you know. It's still a longer way. We want to grow it as efficient and smart as possible, right? So we want to generate revenue, we want to optimize the product, increase every single step in the process, and yeah, but that's the idea of it.
What's the background from it? Because from when I met you the first time, I remember you told me about PayPal stuff. What was the journey from e-com? Because a lot of people that watch us are actually e-com. Some of them will scale their e-com brand. Some of them will just stay doing general dropshipping for a long time. Some of them will stop and maybe start some agencies. What was your journey from e-com to whatever?
So our journeys differ slightly. About me, I started with e-com. Actually, the first introduction to e-com was through Alex.
It was me.
Oh,
because he sent me a link to a Shopify store that he made in 2016?
It was like 2017. So
17.
The story behind it, just this quick story behind it. So we used to play hockey together, like on a very competitive level in Austria. and I broke my leg, and I had a cast up till my hip, so I couldn't like move, not walk, and I was in my bed for like 6 months, and I was like, what the hell will I do? Like 6 months, I couldn't go to school, nothing, just laying in bed. And I was like, okay, I have to go on YouTube and search something like a new hobby. And there was like some guy like that was introducing me to dropshipping, and I was like, okay, I have to start dropshipping. And I just made a store, a fashion store for women, and I just put some random products in, and for like, I don't know, for 2 days I ran like ads for $40 or $50, and in the first like 24 hours I got like a order for $140 from Greece, Athens, from a woman that ordered, and I just sent it to Phil, and I was so happy that you could actually make money from your bed actually. And so it sparked something really, really big.
After how long? Just a few weeks? Or?
No, like after like 2 days. Like
2 days?
2 days running
first
ads.
try.
First try.
Crazy.
First sale.
Who was the mentor? We want to know the mentor. I cannot
I don't
disclose.
know. I don't remember. Maybe it was Hayden Bowles.
No, Hank Bolt.
Yeah.
Hayden Bulls.
Yeah, Hayden Bowles. It was
Okay.
Yeah, we
early
watched
days.
We watched them before.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that's actually the link that he sent me was to that store. And I looked at it, and it was like, it was literally just copy paste the pictures from AliExpress, you know, nothing else. But I was like, hey, like, how do you do it? Like, what is it? He's like, it's Shopify. It's I can make a store. And I'm like, I want to do a store, you know? So I did watches, actually. And I think the first thing that I did was I didn't do Facebook ads. I did like I just found a meme page, you know, and I paid them like $15, which is like about the amount of money that I had. And I remember that too. I remember the first sale too, because I paid them and then I had to go because we had practice. We were doing like video, like reviewing our games, you know, and my phone was in my pocket and it vibrated, but it vibrated twice, you know, because like if you don't turn it off on Shopify, you have the notification, then you have the email, you know, and they come at the same time. So you have like the double notification. And so I looked at it, and there was the first sale for like $18 or something, which I didn't know it at the time, but I was still negative because like at the product cost. But then I just kept trying, and afterwards it didn't go as well. Like there was ups and downs, of course. I started influencer marketing, didn't work, and then eventually did Facebook ads, and then I went to the US to play, and during that year was like it started working because I found a good product. It was dropshipping still, and there I did around $100,000 in a month in revenue.
Well, how
like
long
the
it
peak.
took you from this first sale at $18 to
So first sale, probably like 3 months later, I was doing
3 months later?
I was doing like 30,000-40,000.
Okay.
Then it died down, and then I spiked it up back to around 100.
What was the steps that you think made the difference for you to get results in e-com?
Well, learning, but by far the biggest leverage or the biggest change was when I actually paid people to help me out.
Okay.
Because I knew I had a good product, like in the US, and I got this guy that was running Facebook ads, and he basically like tripled my ad spend in 2 days, which was a little bit scary. But yeah, I mean, the revenue just exploded.
So he just came to your ad account and just tripled the budget.
Yeah,
That's
literally.
pretty much it.
I gave him the freedom of like, hey, like just do, like I trust you, do what you think is best, you know?
Yeah.
And he just went for it. Like he duplicated a couple campaigns that were working, increased the budget like 10x on a couple campaigns. And yeah, over the next 2-3 days, it started working right away. So I was like, okay, let's keep going. And
I think it was back in the days where the technical part was just so important more
yeah,
than the creative part.
and that is something that's a learning I learned myself, was that like if I spent more time on not the technical part but the marketing part itself, it would be much better. But I just didn't, like my whole focus that I wanted to what I wanted to focus on was really just the technical part, and you know, like dissecting the ads manager algorithm, and that's where I was. and no one else did. I didn't have employees, so no one else did the marketing part. So the marketing part was bare minimum, and then I really was just in the technical. And then later on, you were in the US as well. You came back. When I got back, we moved in together to then do ecom.
You had your own success as well in the side, or just like merging?
I think we were just merging because I was like playing hockey in the US and then came back, and then me and Phil decided to go back at the ecom game. And then I think the biggest learning there was that it was the transitioning from going to the technical aspect to purely focusing on the marketing part, because a lot of folks just had success, had luck, especially in the years 2017, 18, 19, where they just abused the algorithm, just arbitraged the cheap traffic actually from Facebook back then, and just sold anything. But that's changed over time, and you had to be really focused on the creative part and how to persuade people, how to communicate with them. And what a lot of people neglected was also customer research. So we really emphasized on learning about our customers and also learning how to communicate with them. So we gathered a lot of reviews, really dissect the wording that they use and everything. So I think that was the biggest difference that we had then at the second try, where we really focused on the communication strategy.
Yeah, and that is, I think, where our cooperation works well, because me, naturally, I like to like hyper focus on something technical and just break it apart and understand like every single corner, every single centimeter of it, and then eventually like learn how to use it the best way and grow it if possible. And then Alex, more of like, you can take a step back, look at the bigger picture, and like be like, okay, well, people do that, but what can we do differently, or what is the actual underlying understanding that you have to have in order to be able to navigate and choose what to focus on, which then we focus on, and we break it apart again, and we make it as good as possible.
So how you went from this e-com to like software kind of stuff? Because we see a lot of people having more like some kind of affiliate journey or something related to e-com, but software is more rare, I would say. So what was the journey?
Looking back, it just happened. There wasn't even that much like planning behind it. But while we were doing, it was while we were doing e-com, right? And then we actually were more focusing on our individual things during that time. And you were in Mexico, right, at that time?
Yeah.
It was before. And then I was still doing e-com, and one of the big problems was that I didn't have any payment processors. So that's where...
Let's talk about payment processor, guys. Let's see what magic we got today.
Right. So, yeah, I had problems with payment processors. Like, they would just shut me down, and especially PayPal. But then again, the conversion rates...
You were selling in Germany, or you were selling...
I was selling worldwide.
Okay.
But the conversion rate drop was pretty big with PayPal, like without PayPal. But I wasn't even focusing on solving PayPal. I was just looking for a payment processor. And, when I want to do something, I do it, so I talked to, 50, 100 different payment processors to, like, logically to increase the likelihood that you will find a good one, right? So along the way, I found one payment processor that was partnering with PayPal, and they asked me if I used PayPal, and I said no, because it doesn't work for me. And they were like, oh yeah, no problem, like, we can solve that for you, So they did. And I was like, okay, well, this is a logical approach, and it worked. So then we had, more and more people try it, and that worked well.
So you had like some kind of a tool that was utilizing PayPal, and then you helped people implementing the same system that you had. Is that correct?
Yeah, basically, yeah, pretty much. We were like selling the information that's needed in order to have solid PayPal accounts.
Okay. When was it? What year it was, if I may ask? 2021.
Yeah.
Does it still work today, or maybe yes, maybe
it
no?
could.
You don't. It could, yeah.
Possibly. Stuff changes all the time. Okay. The thing is, the only reason that worked was because PayPal is such a messy company. So if you just call the right people and press the right buttons in the autoresponder, you just get to literally everyone you want. So it was really just mapping out the routes that you had to take in order to find a salesperson that's more than happy to help you out.
I see.
And also understand their motivations, which I mean they usually get commission, so they want you to do revenue to them. But yeah, so I was doing that too, and then we started talking about trading. I think you gave me some XRP calls.
XRP calls?
XRP, the crypto, Ripple.
Oh yeah, okay.
We're not XRP fanboys. But
No, but that's just what you were trading.
I was trading.
It was interesting to me, so we started looking at it more and more. And I remember I went like skiing, and like every 5 minutes I was like checking my phone, what we were gonna do, you know.
Why? Because you were guys making like the Ripple was going high, or is it?
Well, we were just trading it constantly. So whether it was going up or down, we were just trying to figure out where it's gonna go, right? And we just like created different theories that we had that we tried to overlay and then see if that's gonna work or not. And during that time, we got to a Discord group where we were posting those signals. And people liked them, and also it was like we were using a lot of leverage, you know, like not like looking at it now, it's not a responsible way to trade at all.
Depending on your position size.
But we would have like 25x, 20x trades, you know, so extremely leveraged. So, but then the wins are extremely high, you know. We'd have like 500, 800% wins, you know, like on a normal basis.
You were winning a lot, or how was it? Like, what was the backside of it?
Like, it was extremely volatile because of the
leverage.
Right.
I think we had kind of like a lucky streak because like there was some kind of build up in that group. So we started like posting in that group, and over time we got more and more like trust and also like respect from the other people. And those weren't like normal people. Those were like bigger whales, I would say. And we were having a good streak. So we were actually performing well for like 3-4 months. And people were actually waiting each day on a certain time to get a call from us.
They would like wake up and that would be like their highlight of the day, you know, like our calls. We had a good streak with high leverage, you know, so people were making money too that were in the group. Like we would get like messages, you know, like one guy messaged me, he was like, hey man, like you paid off my mortgage, thank you, you know. That was like, that was nice, yeah.
There were many like messages
there
like
were
this.
many, yeah.
Yeah.
And also like the way we posted them, or like hyped them up, you know. So it was very, very entertaining for the people that were listening to them and watching them.
So basically, he introduced you to XRP. You had guys some fun playing out some trades, and then it went out well. And then
it went from like having fun to getting like serious, because there we actually started to gain knowledge in like different fields, like really nailing down what drives the market and what doesn't. We had to learn like statistics, also math biases and all those things, and also software engineering. There we actually redefine our edge, which is actually coding. So I think there's a different part to that story, which I don't know, we want to talk about.
No, yeah, we can. Like we had a good run, and we were all doing it all manually based on theory, you know. And it worked at the time, but the more we were thinking long term, the more we saw the importance of having to dive deeper and finding consistency that is provable over the long term. And at that point, we really like trading is a very hard industry, you know, like software or e-com or anything else is like so much easier. Like the amount of times you just go to bed with a broken brain, you know, like it's horrible. But yeah, we really dug down deep and found then theories that we could prove. And without software, I don't think that would be possible, because we just had to test and simulate so many times over, specifically what we wanted to do. So at that point, we didn't really know how to code, but it was just the necessity that came out of the situation that we just had to figure it out if we wanted to do if we wanted to have a shot on achieving our goals. So we just started coding.
What it means a good run? Like how much we're talking about, if I may ask? Like, is it like, I don't know, 60% success rate, 70%? Like you're playing 100, you're getting this. Like, if I okay, like how many times you guys trading? Like, was it like really like your full focus, or you just like is a side?
It was the full focus at one point. Like eventually, like pretty quickly actually, it turned into our full focus, and we were trading, I don't know, a couple times a week.
2 to 3 times, I think.
2-3 times a week, high leverage. So yeah, I mean, that means that it's very volatile, but the wins were very, very big, and we were basically so betting on the fact that we would have consecutive wins as often as possible, which then compounds your account quite a bit. So like
so you could win a lot or lose a lot as well, right?
Correct, yeah. Like we built up accounts pretty quickly,
But I think the downside no one talks about is actually if you use a lot of like leverage, it compounds quickly, but you have like L-shaped up and then down, because if you, depending on your position size, that's like the most important thing. 25x could be risky, but also could not be risky depending on your position size. If you use 0.5% of your whole portfolio, if you lose it, it doesn't matter. But like if you use 50% or even full porting it, of course you will lose everything.
So that is, I think, probably the biggest factor in that, actually, more than strategy, is just having an understanding on the, like when I say risk management, it's like a word used all the time that people use, but they don't really know what it is. But at a very large level, okay, if I play this out, or how should I play this out over the next 1,000, 10,000 trades over the next 5 years, and have a high likelihood of being profitable, and then you break it down step by step. That's what actually trade management is, or risk management, and then you go into the details of it. And in there you have a full variance of being like, you can have situations where you do 30x, you can do situations where you have 100x when it's part of a larger strategy.
Okay, let's summarize all the learnings, like top 3 learnings in trading. I think the most important thing as well that we didn't mention was having a portfolio of strategies. So we had certain theses about the market. So let's say, I don't know, if we know a certain fund in 2 months will buy a certain amount of crypto, a certain coin, that will give you a bias that liquidity will come actually into the market, and you can like front run them. That's like one strategy. So we actually looked at the market and fundamentally thought about, okay, what could drive something? Or something like, you offer this iPhone usually for $1,300, and for some reason it's mispriced and now it's 800, but it's just unlogical. Why would it be after like 1 second 800 worth? So it goes back. So there are like certain strategies that you can make use of, and if you combine those strategies, you actually equalize them. You can actually explain it in a better way.
So it's not like we came up with some crazy like AI.
Those are not new strategies.
Right. So we didn't come up with like some crazy AI genius model that like made us profitable out of nothing. And it was the core thing, and the night it flipped where we were, okay, now we can see consistency, where we're like, okay, we can like, because we were always, even when we were making money, we were always like tensed up, stressed out, because we knew, at least subconsciously, that this might not be consistent, because we don't know why it is, like it's working, but we cannot predict that the next trade tomorrow. We hope it's going to work, but we don't know if it's going to work at the end of the day. So the moment it flicked, I know we were in New York and we were looking at the strategies, and it was actually Alex that started it. He just sat down on his ass and went through every single trade that we had in the simulation. It was a lot of trades, but then he was like, oh, okay, I see the pattern here. I see when we win, I see when we lose. Really, it just came down to the actual, true, fundamental understanding of the market. How any market, not the crypto market, it's not some secret, some secret sauce. It's just, how does a market move? What what does it even mean to have, your equilibrium, your buyers, your sellers? What is the actual motivation behind it? What are the actual charts?
Yeah.
And then from there, we found very, very simple strategies that are profitable, but people, even if they saw it, they wouldn't like to trade it because it's too slow, it's not profitable enough. There's just...
It's not exciting for them.
It's not exciting, and that is what drives 99% of traders, especially in crypto. It's probably like more than 99%.
Yeah. It's hype and everything you emphasize
it's
around.
Just
like
endorphins, Making money in trading is boring. It's
super boring.
It has to be boring, If it's exciting, you're doing something wrong. It's not consistent, Because by definition, what is excitement? It is something new, right? But in trading, you literally want to be consistent, meaning that you can fully expect what the outcome is, and what the outcome's going to be. So there is no excitement there, After you make your first couple bucks, it's just consistent. So simple strategies, and then we really just look at when these strategies work, So you have trend following strategies that work well in trends. You have trend reversal strategies that work well in chops or neutral zones or low volatility areas, ranging markets. So when you have, one strategy that works well when there's a volatile market, and one strategy that works well when there's not a volatile market, then by definition they're negatively correlated, right? So when one works, the other one doesn't, and vice versa. But by themselves, they're still profitable. But when you put them together and you put, say, 9 or 12 of them together, then your overall actual account, your equity curve, is pretty consistent, You don't have these huge swings. You trade pretty often. You're pretty consistent, and the strategies pretty much help each other out, right?
It's like a soccer team that works together.
When one's losing, the other one's winning.
Okay, mindset. Huh?
Yeah.
Right. So that is probably the point where we figured out, and we were like, okay, now this is
at what
profitable.
point you decided to do that? When you had big lose or something like that, you decided to emphasize it as to put everything on the software, or
no? It was really the software. Yeah, right. So in the group, one of the people that was very interested in it was an investor from New York who was who's been on Wall Street for decades, and he just liked what we're doing, and he wanted to invest into our strategies, and he wanted to help us develop strategies, and at that point, he wanted them to be automated as part of it. So we were dabbling with software before, but at this point it was obvious, and we were actually looking into hiring people, coders, but it's a very narrow skill set that you need, because you need to be very good at coding. You need to be very good at trading. And that is a very, very narrow skill set. And if you even find those people, they're incredibly expensive, So it was really just our ego. At the end, we were just like, oh, we can do it ourselves, And it was very painful to learn the code and, have it, because, how many times did we code something and we simulated it and it worked, and then we just figured out that the only reason why it worked is because there was a mistake in the code, So stuff like that, we went through
so many learnings.
When we were traveling, we would work 12 hours a day, every single day, over and over and over and over and over again, So now when we go into Part1 and we have a problem like this, easier. It's literally how long did it take you to make the front end for Part1?
I think it was 2 or 3 days. But that's the thing, we didn't have any ChatGPT back then. It was the year 2022, I think.
Yeah.
That was the first time they introduced ChatGPT. That was, I think, November 2021, and that was a big change. So things that took 2 weeks to code were now taking 2 days.
You just had to figure it out. If you don't have now with ChatGPT, 90% of our code is.
You can give us any idea that you have, any software. We could build it within 7 days,
guaranteed.
Front and back end, and
everything.
a solid app.
Everything. A thing that would cost you $80,000 with standard developers. We have it done in 7 days, perfect. That's just
how streamlined we code nowadays with ChatGPT.
Yeah.
We don't take any coders that don't use ChatGPT because it's just useless. And there's a big problem right now with coders, that they're too eager to showcase their skill set in coding that they don't use ChatGPT. So they're too proud to say, okay, actually, I'm redundant in this space. But like that's the thing, you have to adjust and you have to make use of the tools that you have. It's just another tool. So so there's a big transitioning coming in the coding space.
Absolutely. Like the output does not compare. It's like we're us two, we would be equivalent to a team of what? How many people without ChatGPT?
I think 8
people, probably.
Yeah.
Of full-time coders that went to school, and we didn't go to software school. I dropped out of software school after 2 weeks because I was like, this is too fucking slow. I can't do it.
For a reason.
I should have stayed shorter time than I dropped out after 1 year and a half. 1 year and a half.
1 and a half.
Same for me.
But you went into a good school.
Yeah.
So
it was also computing science?
It was finance and computer science. Two subjects.
May I ask what was the biggest loss in money you did with your trading venue? If I may ask,
multiple 6 figures in a day.
Oh my gosh. So how are you reacting emotionally to that?
Honestly,
losing multiple 6 figures.
Honestly, I think we just emotionally shut off. At least
you
I
cannot
did.
be emotional in that.
You were, but he was not.
No, it's so important to be non-emotional in that phase when it happens, because if you act emotional and you react to that thing, it could actually get worse. So you have to go back and see, okay, that's the situation, and you have to take a step back and just let loose.
As entrepreneurs, we can be, a bit, crazy and passionate about whatever we do. How you manage to do that? Is there like some ways you can like pull out and be like some kind of Ubudian?
I don't know. Like for trading specifically, you mean, or in
general? Trading specifically. Then we can see it more in overall picture. But
just one thing, like I think that's like one of the reasons we transitioned from manual trading to software trading. To automated trading, because we were just too emotional based on our decisions that we did. So we just wanted to take it a step back and see, okay, how can we actually solve this problem? Because we as humans are not actually prone to be traders. No. We're human beings. We have feelings. We have everything. We do bad decisions, and we wanted to put that part into a software that can actually make good decisions based on set rules, and it would be consistent, because people are not consistent.
Like you as a person is probably the exact opposite of what an ideal trader would be, you know? So that was a huge, because like we've done thousands, tens of thousands of trades, you know? And there's been a huge chunk of them where we're like, oh, like we lost a trade, and we look at it and we're like, damn, like our strategy was actually right. We just, in the moment, panicked, you know, or did something wrong. And people don't also understand, like they backtest their strategy in historical charts, but you see static charts and you probably also cheat on what's going to happen.
There's always
in history.
A bias. Right. You always want to have your strategy to work out. So
unless, and I'm convinced by this, unless you've done this multiple times and burnt yourself over and over again, you will not be unbiased. Because then your mindset switches into I want to break it, and even then you're slightly biased. But the point is like you look at historical charts and you're biased too, but you don't think about, okay, so this is like a big red candle or a big green candle, but you don't think about how it would feel like when you sit there and you're in a position and there's a candle that grows bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger against your position, with leverage against your position. So you might have even found a great strategy, but you did not account for the emotional factor of staring at a chart and it goes minus 1,000, minus 20,000, minus 50,000, minus 200,000, you know, like, oh, that's a Lambo, you know, like I just lost a Lambo, you know, like you don't account for it. People don't account for it. So there's so much more, like there's so much more that goes into trading. And the problem is that if you fail in ecom, if you make a mistake in ecom or in software, you just try again, and that's basically it. It doesn't cost you that much. And trading, it's one big mistake and you're done. It's over. So it's super
the goal is
hard
to stay afloat. Like
the goal is to survive, to stay afloat, correct?
So, and the opposite also can occur. Like you can earn so much money, and maybe you can be like, okay, this is so much, whatever, Lambos. And
I think on social media, especially on social media, all the things that get shown are the things like the biggest wins, but they don't showcase the people that actually lose money. So I think a lot of people have a skewed reality that trading is easy. It takes just a short amount of time, but that is not the case. You actually have to have a set foundation of certain skill sets. And what I wanted to say is actually that there are certain outliers in manual trading that are emotionless, but they're like born this way. They don't think about it. Like I met a guy in Dubai. He was like 19 years old. He was making around, I don't know, $30,000 per month with trading. And I've never seen such a emotionless guy. He was like really just looking at the charts and just executing. But most of us are not such kind of people. You have to know who you are, and based on that, you have to make a strategy.
And like talking about the potential of it, so like the positive part about it is that when you do have a strategy, like it's very, very easily scalable. Because you don't need to you just do it with a larger number with more zeros, and you do the same thing, assuming that the liquidity supports it. But I know many people that have made or currently make an amount of money that on a regular basis that is very, very hard to usually make, in any business. You'd have to sell your business once a year, every time, a new business or something like that to make that, but. And then you have levels above that, which are like slower trading, but those are billions of dollars, So, the potential is there, but when there's new traders, then they probably don't understand the full aspect and depth of it and what it takes. It's absolutely doable, but what it takes in order to first just be break even. If you're break even trader, you're at the top 1% trader just by not losing money, That's how skewed it is because it's so easy to lose. But then when you are consistent, when you found something that is consistently working, then it just works and it's boring, The money is nice, but it's boring and it should be boring, That's the point. So
when did you guys stop? What happened to it? What was the...
Well, it's
closing of it?
Really is just looking at new things to do. We have our models are still running,
That's one thing. We had a portfolio of 6 to 7 strategies that are still working. But what our mentor told us was that we have to wait certain years, 2 or 3 years in real life environments to see whether they will actually keep up with the performance what we had in simulation. So it's actually the second year where it works. If the third year is successful, we actually have a set of strategies that are actually consistently generating profits.
And that's a completely different level of looking at it, whereas someone on their laptop looks at the past three trades in their trading view and is like, oh wow, I found a winning strategy, compared to you actively run a strategy for multiple years to have absolute proof that it works,
So at some point you decided to stop and your strategy is still running, but you're just looking for something different.
You
told me you had some investors also with you or something like that, that people give you money to trade it.
That's also happening. The main focus we're looking at, how do we grow further? Also, as people, we went through our journey of coding trading strategies for a while. We might, develop new ones, but it would just be very, very refreshing to do something else. And then when we did, we were like, oh my God, this is so much, it's not easy, but it's so much simpler, your brain doesn't have to break every day to do it. And
So what was the next thing? Was it water or it was?
So the next thing, I actually stayed in developing more strategies, which currently I am too. That's why I was in LA. But yeah, so I was still developing more strategies because there was demand for it.
Yeah.
And some people that I also met earlier had specific strategies that they wanted me to code. So I just did that. And while that was going on, you were with your
German company.
I
can make an introduction to that. So while he was working on strategies, I was actually going back to ecom because we actually gained some knowledge in the ecom space.
Okay.
And then I met a old friend of mine. He's older already. He's like 31 years old, I think.
Older. Very old.
It's all perspective. And he had a brand in Germany in the beauty space. I cannot say what kind of brand, but they're doing quite well. And I was focusing on the expansions of that brand in different countries. So basically, based on my skill set that I had, I was building up shops, I was building up businesses because I've also Dubai company. So I had a lot of experience in building up new businesses in new countries and building up teams. So that was actually my task there. And I was overseeing Italy, France, UK, and the US expansion. So I was looking for growth strategies for that company in that instance. And because they already tried it in those countries, but they failed. So I was looking for creative ways on penetrating that market effectively and set the foundation there.
And after this, you guys went back to...
Well, so during that time, Alex found the issue.
I found not the issue, but like there were like many problems. If you compare people from, 5 years, that are 5 years older, they don't have the same tool set that we do, or they just don't have the knowledge, or they're too lazy to reinvent themselves.
Is it ChatGPT related?
Maybe it's ChatGPT related, but like also making use of any like technical tool that you can find, but you also have to know about them. So I actually analyzed all the processes in e-commerce company actually. So if you look at the D2C brand, I just looked at the org chart. Where do we have the most employees in that company? And I was like looking, okay, what do they actually do? Do they actually do some analysis, or is it more repetitive? Like you have a lot of people that are doing very easy, repetitive tasks. And I was looking at the same way in D2C brands, and I was looking at the influencer marketing department. We had so many people, like the most salaries that went into a department was the influencer marketing department. So I was like looking for solutions, and one of them was ChatGPT, because if you really look from the above, what you have to do in influencer marketing, it's basically starting the first initial outreach. So you just say hello, then you want to have like the price of them, so you negotiate, and then you just brief them on what to do. So those are actually very, very simple messages that we actually were able to automate with ChatGPT.
With ChatGPT.
With ChatGPT. So what we do is basically we take a message from an influencer that is writing us, and we just label it. And based on the label, we have certain actions that are automated. So it's a very streamlined way, and people do it the same way. They read the message, see what happens, what I have to do, and based on that, they will do their task. So
basically you're saying it's some kind of a closer, but like automated with some kind of workflow and ChatGPT that will make the deal.
That's also very good.
That will make the deal with the influencers.
Yes, because it's applicable to other industries as well. That is just one use case that we applied it to, because I had some relation to it. But like for Instagram DMs, that's also a very potential like use case for this. So it's just scratching the surface of this, I think.
Especially for the mass. So like basically, Alex looked at the problem or the situation and broke it down into what are the actual substantial pieces that need to be done in order for in order to onboard an influencer, right? And it came down into like 4 essential pieces, really. Then that's it, you know, like everything around it is just like filler, basically, but those 4 pieces need to happen. So then the next thought process, like how do you solve those 4 pieces? And it's with software automations and sentiment analysis with AI, with ChatGPT. And then that just worked. And because it is software, whether you do 1 or 1,000 or 10,000, it's pretty much the same thing, assuming that your architecture supports it. But basically, Barter AI stemmed from a problem that Alex saw and analyzed in a live environment. So we were pretty hopeful that other people will have this problem too, and that other people will appreciate that solution as well. So then we tried it, and we told a couple people in our circle, and they liked it a lot. And then we told more people, and they liked it even more, to the point where when we were doing sales for Barter AI, there's like this break point in the pitch where it's like I tell you about Barter AI, and once you reach that break point, meaning that you understand it, you start pitching me. You're like, oh, it's great because like that means that I don't have to pay so many people, and actually all those people are influencers, and they're micro influencers, meaning that they're engaged and so on and so forth. You start telling me. And that was a factor of like, okay, well, if people understand it and they're so excited about it, then it's probably a pretty good solution to sell.
100%. I think for me it was a bit hard to get at the first place, but once you pass through this kind of a layer of complexity whatsoever and you get it, it's like you can be the best ambassador for it and just pitch it to other people, right?
Which was probably the biggest obstacle we had when we were, because like we weren't really doing any marketing. It was just word of mouth, and there were different people explain it in different ways. But we saw that there was always a layer of complexity that people had to go, like this little bump. True. People had to go through to actually understand it. But then we were working on our actual marketing and not just our software, and we improved the copy to a point where it's more understandable. And now
you can ask him the question about if you're like convinced of a product. Couldn't you?
Right. So that's a good question. So to explain Barter AI, right? So like imagine you just got a product and you really, really, really like it. Like it's a great product for you, right? Whatever you just bought, bought something and it's great. Like, do you think you can convince 2 of your friends to buy it too?
Probably yes, for sure, I think.
Yeah, it's relatively
There's a high chance, yeah.
Right. So we do that just at a very, very large scale. But it's the same exact principle, People are excited about a product, they post about it, and like they don't need to sell 1 million times. They just need 1 friend to like it and buy it. That's it. It works when 1 friend buys it. More than enough, Not even every influencer. So that's it, And you can do that 10 times, you can do it 100 times, you can do it 10,000 times, Yeah,
100%. And then just scale exponentially according to your network whatsoever. You meet one guy, this one guy loves it, and boom, he introduces it to his community, and you have 50 guys in, and all those guys will introduce again.
Yeah, and the Barter AI deals themselves with the influencers.
Yeah, of course, that will other influencers will. Very interesting. How you did how mass DMs and Barter AI are like work together?
Right.
Do you use mass DM for like the prospections and getting the influencers?
Actually, most of that is done through email because it's easy. We have the emails, so it is free, So most of the outreach is through emails. But when we were like, okay, like this solution works, there's demand for it, we have our process in place, we're like, okay, like how can we scale it? And that's when options came in, how we can advertise and market it. And one of them was mass DMs, through you actually, because you told me that you use it pretty consistently over
Yes,
3 to
I
4
love
years.
I love it.
Right. So the fact that you are using it consistently over 4 years is a pretty good indicator that we should put in time and resources into checking it out. We did figure it out, and it became also a solution that we can use for certain barter AI projects, or just simply advertise the mass DMs themselves.
I didn't get the email part. Like you do like cold emails, you mean, to get...
So we find the influencers, right?
Okay.
And then we email those influencers and be like, hey, like this brand is...
Okay, so like you kind of scrape out their emails first and then you reach out to them.
Yeah, so there's databases that have that, and there's many ways you can get them. But we reach out to them and we're like, hey, this brand is interested in working with you. They're willing to give you their product completely for free, are interested, And then basically just goes from there.
Yeah, I got it. But why by email? Why not by DM directly? This is the part I don't get.
Because of the scale. Like, So you have an intrinsic cost in mass DMs.
Oh yeah, it's just cost effective. Basically, it's cheaper to do it by. Okay. Alright, it's just to understand better.
Yeah, and you could also argue that probably the response rate is higher on emails for influencers than DMs. Maybe. We don't even know, to be honest.
It's just the current state of the influencer marketing space that to do it through email.
Okay, I got it.
It's more professional,
Yeah, of course. So how you utilize the mass DMs right now? It's just a service that you sell. You use it for yourself. How you leverage it?
Both actually. Like any asset that we find, we look for the most efficient ways of applying it.
Yeah.
And it works well. It works well for us. It works well, and we also found that out because we were sending out mass DMs for Barter AI, and then people would DM us and be like, not even DM us about Barter AI, but they were just like, hey, how are you doing the mass DMs? I want to use that. We're like, we can do it for you, if you want.
Yeah, 100%.
So
got the same thing.
So we're basically, the theory of what products or software we do is driven by the demand that we see in first person, because then there's the smallest likelihood of putting time into something that's not going to work, which we've done plenty of. So
what's the next steps for you? What's the visions? The ads manager kind of thing with barter?
There's also another idea that we had. If you look at TikTok or Facebook or Instagram, they have a certain payout reward structure for people, also on YouTube. And it's very cheap, for, I don't know, 1 million views or 1,000 views, let's say, the RPM is 70 cents. And there's actually a lot of people or brands out there that would actually pay you $5 per 1,000 views. So we want to actually match potential people, content creators, that are actually not making a lot of money on TikTok, let's say, or on Instagram, because they're just getting 70 cents per 1,000 views. And we want to match them with brands that are suitable for those content creators that will actually pay a premium. But it will be still cheaper than Facebook ads, for example, but maybe as effective, maybe. That's the question.
And that effectiveness is probably correlated with how much work we have into matching them.
Yeah, and that's also very important. It's a win-win situation. So let's say the CPM in the US currently for a beauty brand is $40 per 1,000 views.
Yeah.
A content creator gets 70 cents, or maybe let's say $2 max per 1,000 views. And when you find something in between, we can actually outbid the big companies. Easily. It's not about the big creators. It's about the mass creators that are out there and that want to make a living, and we can actually accommodate for that. And I think that is also a vision that we have in the future, to have something like this.
Because you have so many of them.
Yeah.
Imagine if tomorrow 300 people made their own video with their own arguments, angles, quality, style about your services. You will probably get some DMs. You will probably get some sales.
100%.
300 different people posting about it, you know? And then on top of that, the most converting videos you can take and run ads with, you know? So it's a win-win-win at the end of the day.
Pretty interesting. So what's the, how you're seeing maybe Indonesia to help you scale your ventures, like how you maybe create a team here, or how you will advertise on that?
Right. So, like, I've been here for pretty much for the past year, relatively consistently.
Yeah.
So, just that, I just really like the amount of work or the reach or effect that you can have here when you do it in a smart way, and also real estate and all of that, you know. So it is a pretty good place to be at to build different things. So that's just, you know, the preference of why being here locally. And then, you know, like, for example, our maid, like, we pay her 5 million a month, and she's very happy about it, you know. And she's smart, and she can do a lot of stuff, you know. So that is something that we're basically in a process of learning, of when we have something that works, we can just scale it at a much larger level that we think, which is something, because that's what I was thinking. I was like, oh, what if I get 3 of them, you know, put them in a room, and they can, like, we basically already have a workforce in Barteria, you know. But then I go to your office and you have 20 or 25 employees. I'm like, okay, well, that's 10x to what I even imagined, you know. So it's like,
some people have 200.
Exactly.
Some people have thousands. It's
Right.
crazy.
Exactly.
So the vision is,
So that is an interesting aspect. It's not a must, you know. Like, we can find, especially if we can simplify the tasks that they need to do as much as possible, which we put a lot of effort and energy into doing. One thing is explaining and SOPs and stuff, but the other thing is physically what they need to do is helped so much by software that really at the end they're just clicking buttons, you know, and all the work is done for them. So you know, that makes it easier and then easier to scale. But
ChatGPT times, huh?
Right. So at the end of the day, it is looking and learning of the possibilities that we can have here.